She married him for a green card and filed for divorce on day 91. What immigration found in her messages destroyed everything she built. Nathan, this is just a formality. We both know what this marriage really is. I get my papers, you get paid, and in 3 months we go our separate ways. Don't catch feelings. Those were the cold, calculated words Elena Petrov whispered to her husband on their wedding night before turning away from him in their shared bed. She had no idea that the quiet, principled man lying beside her would become the catalyst for the most devastating immigration fraud investigation in recent history. What happened next will make you question everything you think you know about deception, justice, and the true cost of using people as stepping stones. Viewers, have you ever trusted someone only to discover they saw you as nothing more than a means to an end? What would you do if you had the power to expose their lies? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The courthouse steps were cold that November morning in Portland, Oregon. Nathan Foster stood in his only suit, a charcoal gray one he had worn to his father's funeral 2 years earlier, watching Elena Petrov descend from a black sedan. She wore white. Not a wedding dress, but a crisp white blazer and matching skirt that made her look like she was heading to a business meeting rather than a marriage ceremony. Which, Nathan supposed, was exactly what this was to her. A transaction. She approached him with practiced confidence, her heels clicking against the stone steps. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a tight bun, her makeup perfect, her smile polished and empty. "You have the paperwork?" she asked, not bothering with pleasantries. Nathan pulled the manila folder from under his arm. Marriage license, financial documents, lease agreement for the apartment. Everything your lawyer requested. Elena took the folder without looking at him. Good. Let's get this over with. I have a meeting at 3. They had met 6 months earlier at a legal aid clinic where Nathan volunteered on weekends. He was a high school history teacher by day, but he spent his free time helping immigrants navigate the complicated maze of American bureaucracy. Elena had walked into the clinic with a confident stride that belied her desperation. Her student visa was expiring in 3 months, and her application for an H-1B work visa had been denied. "I need options," she had said, her accent thick but her English perfect. "I cannot go back to Russia. Everything I have built is here." Nathan had spent hours explaining the legal pathways available. Employment sponsorship, investor visas, asylum if she qualified. But Elena had dismissed each option with increasing frustration. Too slow, too expensive, too uncertain, she had said. There must be another way. Then, during their third consultation, she had leaned forward, her eyes calculating. "You are not married, correct?" Nathan had blinked, caught off guard. "No, I'm not. Why?" "Because marriage to a U.S. citizen is the fastest path to a green card." She had smiled then, not warmly, but like someone who had just solved a complex equation. "And you volunteer here because you want to help people. So help me." Nathan should have walked away. Every instinct told him this was wrong, but Elena had been persuasive. She had painted a picture of a brilliant career cut short by bureaucratic red tape. She was a software engineer, she said, working for a tech startup that desperately needed her skills but could not sponsor her visa. She spoke of leaving behind a mother and sister in St. Petersburg, of building a life in America through hard work and determination, of dreams deferred by paperwork and waiting lists. And then she had mentioned money. $50,000, paid in installments over 3 years. Enough to clear the medical debt his mother had left behind when she died. Enough to finally fix the sagging roof on his house. Enough to make Nathan ignore the voice in his head screaming that this was fraud. Now, standing in the courthouse, watching Elena check her phone with the casual indifference of someone waiting for a bus, Nathan felt the full weight of his mistake. The ceremony was clinical. A justice of the peace with tired eyes recited words that should have meant something. Nathan repeated vows that felt like lies. Elena's "I do" was crisp and businesslike. When the justice pronounced them husband and wife, Elena extended her hand for a handshake instead of a kiss. "Congratulations," the justice said, clearly sensing something off about this union but too overworked to care. "May you have a long and happy marriage." Elena was already turning toward the exit. "Thank you. We will do our best." That night, in the one-bedroom apartment they were required to share to maintain the appearance of a legitimate marriage, Elena established the ground rules. I will sleep in the bedroom. You will take the couch. We will maintain separate finances, separate lives. In public, we will appear as a normal married couple. In private, we are strangers sharing space. She was unpacking her designer luggage, hanging clothes in the closet with military precision. Do not develop feelings for me, Nathan. This is a business arrangement, nothing more. Topper C. Nathan sat on the couch that would be his bed for the next 3 months, watching his wife treat their home like a hotel room. The immigration interview is in 2 weeks. We need to prepare. I am aware, Elena said without looking at him. I have studied the process extensively. We will need to know details about each other. Favorite foods, daily routines, how we met. Nathan repeated the words bitterly. You mean the lie we are going to tell federal agents? Elena finally turned to look at him, her expression cold. The lie we are both complicit in, Nathan. Do not pretend you are innocent here. You agreed to this. You took the money. If you have moral objections, you should have considered them before signing the marriage certificate. She was right, of course. He had cashed the first check. $25,000 deposited into his account the day before the wedding. The remaining $25,000 would come in 2 more installments. $12,500 at day 45, and the final payment at day 90, the day before Elena planned to file for divorce. Get some sleep, Elena said, closing the bedroom door. Tomorrow we start preparing for the interview. The next 2 weeks were a crash course in manufactured intimacy. Elena created flashcards with biographical information. Nathan's birthday, May 15, 1986, his mother's name, Patricia, his favorite food, his mother's homemade lasagna, his hobbies, reading history books and hiking. Elena's information was carefully curated. Birthday, December 3, 1990. Parents' names, Dmitry and Svetlana. Favorite food, borscht. Hobbies, coding and classical music. She memorized his details with the efficiency of someone studying for an exam, but there was no warmth in her recitation. How did we meet? The flashcard asked. At a legal aid clinic where Nathan volunteered, Elena recited. I came in for help with my visa situation. We started talking. He asked me to coffee. We discovered we both loved Tolstoy. 6 months later, he proposed. The lie rolled off her tongue smoothly. Too smoothly. Nathan wondered how many times she had practiced it. The immigration interview took place on a gray Tuesday morning at the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services office in downtown Portland. Officer Patricia Martinez was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a manner that suggested she had seen every type of fraud imaginable. She sat behind a desk cluttered with files, studying Nathan and Elena with professional skepticism. Mr. Foster, Mrs. Foster, she began, separating them with formality. I will interview you separately, then together. This is standard procedure for all marriage-based green card applications. Elena's confidence never wavered. She answered every question with practiced ease. How did they meet? At the legal aid clinic. When did Nathan propose? October 10th, at Pittock Mansion overlooking the city. What side of the bed did he sleep on? The left. What did he eat for breakfast? Usually oatmeal with honey. Nathan's interview was harder, not because he did not know the answers, but because lying to a federal agent made his throat tight and his palms sweat. He repeated the rehearsed story about meeting Elena, falling in love with her intelligence and determination, deciding that she was the person he wanted to spend his life with. Officer Martinez's expression gave nothing away. Can you tell me about your wedding night, Mr. Foster? The question hung in the air. Nathan remembered Elena turning away from him, the coldness of separate blankets, the business-like dismissal of any intimacy. We were both exhausted, he said carefully. We ordered takeout, watched a movie, and went to sleep. Not a lie, technically, but not the truth either. When the joint interview concluded, Officer Martinez stamped Elena's paperwork with an expression that suggested she found their marriage suspicious but lacked concrete evidence to deny the application. Your conditional green card will arrive in 6 to 8 weeks. Congratulations, Mrs. Foster. Elena smiled her polished, empty smile. Thank you, Officer Martinez. We are very grateful. Outside the building, Elena checked her phone. 91 days from now, I will file for divorce. Do not contact me unless absolutely necessary. I will handle all communications through my lawyer. She walked away without looking back, leaving Nathan standing on the sidewalk wondering what he had just helped unleash. The first 45 days of their marriage passed in a strange limbo. Elena worked long hours at her tech job, often coming home past midnight. Nathan would hear her in the kitchen, heating up leftovers, working on her laptop at the dining table, with the blue glow of the screen illuminating her face. They rarely spoke beyond necessary logistics. Who would buy groceries? When the rent was due? Whether they needed to maintain any public appearances for the sake of the immigration application? Nathan tried to ignore the growing unease in his chest. He told himself this would be over soon, 91 days. Then Elena would file for divorce, pay him the final installment, and disappear from his life. The second payment arrived on schedule. $12,500 deposited electronically with no note, no message, no acknowledgement of their agreement beyond the transaction itself. But something shifted in Nathan during those 45 days. He began to notice things. Elena's late-night phone calls conducted in rapid Russian behind the closed bedroom door. The expensive packages that arrived several times a week, designer clothes and electronics that seemed inconsistent with a tech startup salary. The way she treated their apartment not as a home, but as a temporary staging ground. One evening, unable to sleep on the lumpy couch, Nathan overheard her on the phone. Her Russian was animated, punctuated by laughter he had never heard from her in English. His Russian was limited to a few phrases from a college course, but he recognized certain words. Gluppy, stupid, dengue, money, Amerikanets, American. He pulled out his phone and quietly recorded the conversation through the bedroom door. Not because he planned to use it, not yet, but because something deep in his gut told him he might need evidence of whatever Elena was really planning. The truth came crashing down on day 87. Nathan came home early from school, feeling sick with a flu that had been circulating among his students. He opened the apartment door quietly, not wanting to wake Elena as she was sleeping off her own late night. Instead, he found her on the couch, laptop open, talking on video chat with a man Nathan had never seen before. They were speaking Russian, but the intimacy in their voices needed no translation. 4 more days, my love, Elena was saying in English, clearly for the benefit of keeping her American husband in the dark if he came home. Then I file the papers, take the final payment, and I'm free to join you in California. The man on the screen was handsome, well-dressed, with the confidence of someone who had never doubted his place in the world. You are certain the fool suspects nothing, Nathan? Elena laughed, actually laughed, with more warmth than she had shown in 3 months of marriage. He is a pathetic idealist who thinks he was helping me build a better life. He has no idea I never needed his help. My company was already sponsoring my H-1B. I just wanted the green card faster, and I wanted to be with you without visa complications. The man smiled. So the marriage was unnecessary. Not unnecessary. Convenient. Elena stretched like a cat. And profitable. Once I file for divorce, I get to keep the green card, and Nathan gets to keep his guilt and his empty bank account. I already have a job offer in San Francisco. We can finally be together without hiding. Nathan stood frozen in the hallway, his phone recording every word. The betrayal was complete. Not just the marriage fraud, which he had been complicit in, but the realization that Elena had been manipulating him from the very beginning. There had never been a visa crisis, never a desperate immigrant fighting for survival. Just a calculated predator who saw him as the easiest path to what she wanted. He backed out of the apartment silently, closing the door with a soft click. His hand shook as he saved the video to his cloud storage, then sent copies to 3 different email accounts. Then Nathan Foster made a decision. Some lies are so profound, so damaging, that they require justice, not revenge, but justice. The next morning, Nathan called in sick to work and took the bus downtown to the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services office. He asked to speak with Officer Patricia Martinez. The receptionist informed him she was in meetings all day, but Nathan insisted it was urgent. He was directed to wait. 3 hours later, Officer Martinez emerged from a conference room, looking surprised to see him. Mr. Foster, is there a problem with your wife's green card application? Yes, Nathan said quietly. A very serious problem. They moved to a private interview room. Nathan set his phone on the table between them. Before I show you this, I need you to understand something. I am complicit in fraud. I knew what I was doing when I married Elena. I took money to enter into a sham marriage for immigration benefit. I am ready to face the consequences of that. Officer Martinez's expression had shifted from surprise to intense focus. Mr. Foster, are you confessing to immigration fraud? Yes, Nathan said, but I am also providing evidence of something bigger. My wife has been lying not just to me, but to U.S. immigration authorities, and I have proof. He played the video. Officer Martinez watched in silence as Elena laughed about manipulating Nathan, discussed her already secured work visa, detailed her plans to file for divorce and move to California with her real boyfriend. When the video ended, Martinez was already reaching for her phone. Do not leave this building, Mr. Foster. I need to make some calls. The investigation that followed moved with the swift efficiency of federal law enforcement uncovering fraud. Within 24 hours, immigration agents had subpoenaed Elena's phone records, email accounts, and financial transactions. What they found was devastating. Elena's company had approved her H-1B visa 3 weeks before she had walked into the legal aid clinic claiming desperation. Her financial records showed regular transfers from her boyfriend in California, a software executive worth millions. Her text messages revealed an entire network of friends in Russia, advising her on the fastest way to secure permanent residency in the United States. One message, sent the day after her wedding, was particularly damning. Married the American teacher today. He is boring but useful. 91 days and I will be free with my green card and no more visa worries. It is almost too easy. But the most shocking discovery came from Elena's laptop. Immigration investigators found a folder labeled Immigration Strategy, containing detailed research on marriage fraud penalties, how to avoid detection, and templates for maintaining the appearance of a legitimate relationship. She had been planning this scam for over a year. Officer Martinez called Nathan into her office on the 4th day of the investigation. Mr. Foster, I want to be clear about your situation. You have admitted to immigration fraud, which is a federal crime carrying penalties of up to 5 years in prison and fines up to $250,000. Nathan nodded, his face pale but resolved. I understand. However, Martinez continued, your cooperation and the evidence you provided have been invaluable. Elena Petrov has committed not only immigration fraud, but also wire fraud through her financial transactions related to the scheme. Her case is significantly more serious than yours. She leaned back in her chair. The U.S. Attorney's Office is prepared to offer you a plea agreement. You will pay a fine, perform community service, and be subject to probation. No jail time. In exchange, you will testify against Elena Petrov if this case goes to trial. What will happen to her? Nathan asked. If convicted, she faces deportation, a permanent bar from re-entering the United States, criminal fines, and possible prison time. Her green card application will be immediately terminated. Martinez paused. She will also lose her work authorization. Everything she has built here, legitimately or otherwise, will disappear. Nathan felt no satisfaction in hearing this, only a deep sadness. When will she be arrested? Tomorrow morning. Immigration and Customs Enforcement will take her into custody at her workplace. It is important that she not be warned. Elena's arrest happened at 9:30 on a Thursday morning in the glass and steel offices of her tech company. Federal agents arrived with a warrant, escorting her from the building in handcuffs while her colleagues watched in stunned silence. The company immediately suspended her employment pending the outcome of the investigation. Her boyfriend in California, when contacted by investigators, claimed to know nothing about her immigration status and retained a lawyer. Their relationship, it turned out, was as convenient for him as the marriage had been for Elena. When she needed him most, he disappeared. Elena's lawyer tried to negotiate. She offered to leave the country voluntarily, to pay any fines, to do whatever was necessary to avoid criminal prosecution. But the evidence was overwhelming. Text messages to friends in Russia bragging about scamming the American immigration system. Financial records showing the payments to Nathan. Video evidence of her admitting the marriage was a fraud, and most damning of all, the research folder showing premeditation and calculation. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Nathan testified for 2 days, explaining how Elena had manipulated him, how he had been complicit in the fraud, and how he had ultimately decided to expose the scheme when he realized the depth of her deception. Elena's lawyer tried to paint Nathan as a vindictive ex-husband seeking revenge, but the evidence was too strong. The jury deliberated for 4 hours, guilty on all counts: immigration fraud, wire fraud, making false statements to federal officials, conspiracy to commit marriage fraud. Judge Robert Harrison delivered the sentence with a stern expression that suggested he had seen too many cases like this. "Mrs. Petrov, you have made a mockery of our immigration system and exploited a man's kindness for your personal gain. You have shown no remorse, only anger at being caught." Elena stood rigid, her confident facade finally cracking. "You are hereby sentenced to 18 months in federal prison, followed by deportation to Russia. You are barred from re-entering the United States for a period of 20 years. Additionally, you are ordered to pay restitution of $75,000 to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services for the cost of this investigation." The courtroom was silent as Elena absorbed the words. Her perfect plan, her calculated scheme, her confidence that she could outsmart the system, all of it destroyed by the very person she had dismissed as too pathetic to matter. As federal marshals led her away, Elena turned back once to look at Nathan. Her eyes held not remorse but pure hatred. He met her gaze without flinching. 6 months later, Nathan Foster sat in his classroom after school, grading papers. His legal troubles were behind him. A $10,000 fine, 200 hours of community service, and 3 years of probation. The money Elena had paid him had been seized as proceeds of fraud, along with an additional penalty that wiped out his savings. He would be paying off debt for years. But he could sleep at night. He had received a letter from Elena, smuggled out of the federal detention facility where she awaited deportation. It was not an apology. She called him a traitor, a vindictive coward, a man so pathetic he had destroyed her life because he could not handle being used. Nathan read the letter once, then put it through his classroom shredder. She still did not understand. This had never been about revenge. It had been about choosing to stop being complicit in his own exploitation, about refusing to let someone else's calculated cruelty define his sense of right and wrong. A knock at his classroom door pulled him from his thoughts. Officer Patricia Martinez stood in the doorway, looking somehow less intimidating in civilian clothes. "Mr. Foster, I hope I am not disturbing you." "Not at all," Nathan said, surprised. "Is everything all right with my case?" "Your case is closed," Martinez said. "I came here for a different reason." She pulled out a folder. "I am working with a nonprofit that provides legal assistance to victims of immigration fraud. People who were manipulated into sham marriages, who cooperated with authorities, who want to help others avoid the mistakes they made." She set the folder on his desk. "We need volunteers, people who understand the system from the inside, people who can recognize manipulation and have the courage to expose it. I thought you might be interested." Nathan opened the folder. Information about the organization, testimonials from people they had helped, statistics about marriage fraud that made his own experience seem like a small piece of a much larger problem. "Why me?" he asked. "Because you made a mistake, Mr. Foster. But when you realized the depth of that mistake, you chose to do the right thing even though it cost you dearly. That is exactly the kind of person we need." Nathan looked at the folder, then at Martinez. "When can I start?" Martinez smiled. "There is an orientation next Tuesday evening. I will send you the details." After she left, Nathan sat alone in his classroom, watching the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the empty desks. He thought about Elena, probably pacing in a detention cell, counting the days until her deportation. He thought about the lies they had both told, the system they had both tried to cheat, the consequences they both would carry forward. But mostly, he thought about the choice he had made, to stop being complicit, to accept responsibility, to use his experience to help others avoid the same trap. Some bridges burn because they were built on lies from the beginning. The secret is learning to build new bridges on foundations of truth, no matter how much harder the construction might be. Viewers, do you think Nathan did the right thing by turning Elena in, even though he was complicit in the fraud? Or should he have kept quiet and let her get away with it? What would you have done in his situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more true stories about justice, betrayal, and the consequences of our choices.